What is poppin', YouTube? Back again with another video. Today we're doing my 3 players that you need to let your idiot league mates draft onto their dummy team. We all remember the dummy teams where we only had 9 players or 11 players in high school where we had to create a dummy team that was auto drafted. Now I'm giving you 3 guys super highly drafted that you need to be avoiding at all costs. So hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, best free way to support the channel, and let's go. The first player not to be a dummy and not to draft this season is Breece Hall. Don't get me wrong. In all my dynasty leagues that I have Breece Hall, I'm feeling great. Breece Hall is a top 5 dynasty running back. Arguably top 3. But in redraft this season, I am not taking this shot. I got burned with Saquon. I got burned with a lot of these other running backs. When they're coming first year off an ACL tear, they just don't look good. Now, I hear you from all the metric standpoint. Well, Caleb, there's Aaron Rodgers is going to be there this season. The offense is going to be so much more better. There's going to be so many more touchdown opportunities for Breece Hall. And I could get burned. I could end up being the dummy. But the reason that I think you shouldn't be the dummy and why I think we're going to be in this together and why Breece Hall is not a buy is just based on his recovery timeline. It was in late October when Breece Hall tore his ACL. Now, based on everything that it reports from ESPN and sources in the Jets organization, Breece Hall is having a fantastic recovery. And that's absolutely great to hear. But up to this point, there's only been a few running backs that have come off an ACL injury and performed amazingly. The last one to do it was Adrian Peterson. Now, we can say the same thing. Maybe Saquon started off a little bit hot when he came back, but really quickly fell off. I know he had a few different injuries the year after his ACL. We look at last season with J.K. Dobbins. Now, a lot of people are going to say, well, Caleb, there was a lot of other ligament damage with J.K. Dobbins, but J.K. Dobbins just didn't have that same type of burst. And that is what I'm worried about with Breece Hall. Because even if you look at how Breece Hall performed last season, in the 7 games he played, he did average 16.4 fantasy points per game, which was amazing, 5.8 yards per carry in his 80 rushing attempts. I'm just a little bit worried with all the rumors of Dalvin Cook potentially going to the Jets, them signing somebody else to come help Breece Hall the first year off his ACL. I'm not saying that if Breece Hall gets all healthy this season, that even next year I'm going to be off Breece Hall. I just can't justify spending where you're having to spend on Breece Hall in these drafts to then build out the rest of your roster. Right now on Underdog, Breece Hall is going off as the RB11 round pick 30. So we're talking about a 3rd round running back. I just can't get my mind off of it because even if somehow Breece Hall starts off slow out of the gate, 4-6 weeks, and he's finally maybe healthy by week 7 or week 8, okay, great. If everything else on your team performed great, then you were feeling really great about Breece Hall towards the end of the season. But we can't even justify that. We just have to get you to be in a great position, to be in that championship hunt, to be in that top playoff seed hunt. I just can't justify taking Breece Hall, and especially when we're talking about underdog leagues where you're shooting for the end of the season and you're playing in these season-long leagues. I've been burned by these players that have had a little bit of injury concerns coming off an injury, and they just haven't looked as explosive. Breece Hall is going to be a great running back in the NFL. I'm just not drafting him this year, so don't be a dummy and don't draft Breece Hall. My second player not to draft to your dummy team is going to be Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen, you say? Caleb, he's playing with Justin Herbert. We've seen when he's gotten in the game how good of a wide receiver Keenan Allen is. And I know he's older, Caleb, but he runs routes. He doesn't win off his athleticism, so he can play a long time in the NFL. I've heard that from a few different people on Twitter, and I'm sorry if that was you, but my counter argument to that is we just cannot trust Keenan Allen's health anymore. We look at 2020, 14 games played, 2021, 16 games played, which was amazing. 16.1 fantasy points per game back in 2021. Put him as the wide receiver 11. And last season, he played 10 games and had 16.4 fantasy points per game in those games. Wide receiver 11 on a fantasy points per game basis. I cannot tell people that watch my content and support the channel, let us invest into Keenan Allen, an older wide receiver who has been known to have injury issues. Keenan Allen, who seems to be having these hamstring injuries, even if we look at the last 3 seasons, even when he has played the 16 games, the 14 games, there's been a lot of games where he is questionable with these hamstrings. Now, with a wide receiver of Keenan Allen, who is 31 years old, they just drafted his replacement with Quentin Johnston. Now, I know most people are saying, well, Quentin Johnston is going to be the Mike Williams replacement. Keenan Allen, when he's on the field, yes, he's electric. Yes, he's a top 12 wide receiver. But how many games are you going to be getting? Especially in these underdog formats where you're playing with the best team, trying to get to that week 18. There's no guarantee that maybe if Keenan Allen does play in week 18, he helps you win. If you're playing in your redraft leagues where you're trying to set yourself up to get into the playoffs, all of a sudden in week 5, week 6, week 7, some type of injury happens. Now, we can't predict injury, but with a wide receiver that is old, that has been known to have hamstring issues, and as a wide receiver or any NFL player gets older, those injuries just continue to magnify. I'm just a little bit hesitant about Keenan Allen. And especially now, too, with Quentin Johnston. I think Quentin Johnston is a great buy in your redraft leagues because of the price point that he's going at. But that's not the point of this video. You're just trying not to be a dummy, and you're just going to avoid Keenan Allen in the 3rd round because that is currently where he's going on underdog drafts. Currently, right now in underdog drafts, Keenan Allen's going off as the wide receiver 19 at pick 36. So he's going in the third round, and I just can't do it. I know it's the back end of the third. I know you need the wide receiver depth, but there are other wide receivers around Keenan Allen that I would very much so prefer to take a shot on. Amari Cooper, check. Christian Watson, check. Those are guys that I would much so prefer, and I'm not being a dummy, and I'm just letting my league mates draft Keenan Allen in 2023. Now, my third and final player that I'm letting my idiot league mates draft so that I don't have the dummy team is Jerry Jeudy. The reason that I just can't get on Jerry Jeudy's hype train, I know he had 13.6 fantasy points per game. I know he was a wide receiver 19 on a fantasy points per game basis this last season. And I know you're saying that Russell Wilson's going to finally be able to cook. I just think there's going to be some serious target competition in the Broncos offense. So I think Greg Dulcich is going to take a step up. We still have Cortland Sutton, who was not optimized this last season. We have Tim Patrick returning from injury. They take Marvin Mims in the third round as another wide receiver candidate. For me, it's hard for me to say, yep, Jerry Jeudy's going to get all the targets, and Jerry Jeudy's going to perform at a super high level when he hasn't done this up to this point. Now, Jerry Jeudy's being drafted as the wide receiver 21. So you could say to myself, well, Caleb, if he has the upside, last season was a bad year, he's getting drafted kind of at his floor. If 13.6 fantasy points is his floor, then we have to look at the 2 seasons previous to that, where he averaged 8.5 and 9.9 fantasy points per game. So even if somehow he takes a step up to 14 fantasy points per game, that would be a huge jump for a guy like Jerry Jeudy to have. And I'm just not willing to risk it when we're talking about guys in the same range that I'd much rather have. He's going in the same range as running backs like Travis Etienne and Jahmyr Gibbs. I'd take a shot on both of those guys. DeAndre Hopkins, I don't know where he's going to play, but we've seen DeAndre Hopkins be a target hog that has actual potential to put up solid fantasy points. I would much rather take the risk on Drake London over Jerry Jeudy. Based on the peripherals, I know a lot of people are off Drake London. This isn't Drake London video, but I'd rather take Drake London. There are guys around Jerry Jeudy that I'd much rather have and take those shots on in my underdog drafts, in my redraft leagues, over Jerry Jeudy. So I will not be drafting Jerry Jeudy anywhere, and that is why I have him on the dummy team. Let me know down below. Are you drafting any of these guys? Do you agree with me? We're going to be putting out another video tomorrow. We're actually going to be releasing a short later tonight, so come check that out. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Best free way to support the channel, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.